Hey everybody, welcome to the Cow Emporium. It is day 14 of day 21 of our 21 days of eating only what we grew, raised, foraged, harvested from the farm. Like any other great day on the farm, it starts with chores. Let's go do it. Hello, puppy nose. Okay, everybody, that's enough of chores because you've seen our chore slots. So let's go inside and take a look at what we have eaten this last week and what we plan on making for the next week, the final 8 days.
So here I have some red potatoes. As you can see, they're pretty scabby and they're starting to sprout, but that's okay. I just peel them and you wouldn't know the difference. Right now, I've peeled a large potato and I'm just sticking in a pot for Glenn. He's going to be making gnocchi with that later for us. Thanks, Glenn. So with the rest of these, I'm just going to shred them. I'm going to shred them all. So now I've shredded them and I have them in the bottom of my salad spinner. I'm going to fill that with water. It's really important to soak your potatoes because in the soaking process, it releases the starch from the potato. If you don't do that, you'll end up with soggy hash browns. Here, I'm just showing you how much starch is already in the water of the potatoes that are soaking. Soak them for at least 10 minutes. Then I decided to put some tin foil on this cookie sheet and put some olive oil on it. I'm not sure if that was the wisest decision, but you know, that's what I did because we're allowed olive oil on this 21-day experiment. Oh yeah, and that's Sammy the sourdough. I was hoping to make some sourdough Saskatoon muffins with it later. So after a good 10-minute soak in the water, I take the hash browns and I'm rinsing them in the sink under some cool water. Don't forget to rinse your bowl out because there's all that leftover starch in there. Put them back in there for another good soak. Because I do mean you want the starch off your potatoes. So a second look at the water, look at that. It's actually quite clear, that water, so I've done a good job at soaking my potatoes. And now it's time to spin them. Glenn had this brilliant idea in the summertime to spin the hash browns dry using the salad spinner. It doesn't actually make them dry, but as you can see, it takes out quite a bit of the water. Always drain the colander and give it a second spin. Now it's time to spread these hash browns out on my baking sheet. I did this exact thing last weekend. You don't want to pile these shredded potatoes too high on your baking sheet. Oh look, I have some onions that have been dried and I've ground them up into a powder that I use out of that convenient shaker that's probably 500,000 years old. Throw a little salt and pepper on there. I know it's not fancy, but that's what we're allowed. Salt and pepper. Fancy. Okay, I do the same process with the frying pan. Because I like instant gratification, I choose to fry some. Wait till your frying pan is hot. You can tell by sprinkling a little bit of water on there with your fingers, and if it sizzles, then it's ready to go. Again, with the frying pan, you don't want to layer your hash brown potatoes in there in too thick a layer, otherwise the middle will stay soggy while the outside is crunchy and possibly overcooked. Again, with the onion powder and the salt and pepper. No to the lid. You definitely don't want to use a lid when you're frying the hash browns. It makes them soggy. To the hash browns that I have conveniently flipped over and not shown you, I add some of our homemade butter. That just helps crisp up the bottom layer of the potatoes. The ones in the oven appear to be doing just fine. The tops are getting slightly browned. Now these hash browns are just about ready. That's good because we've been obsessing about food during this 21-day challenge. Happy day. Okay, I've taken the hash browns out of the oven and uh-oh, for some reason my hash browns are sticking to the tin foil. This was not something that I was planning for, nor is something that I wanted to show you guys. However, I do want to show you that sometimes it doesn't go perfect. There is a light at the end of this tunnel, however. After a minute, the hash browns decided to separate from the tin foil and actually made the most delicious bites. Starting on Monday, we had a roast chicken dinner similar to the one that you'll see me preparing later. And I made a Saskatoon apple crisp, bran muffins, and Glenn made these delicious granola bars. This is a sampling of our lunch. It's pretty much the same as last week, and every day is practically the same. There's usually some pickled carrots, sauerkraut, boiled eggs, tortilla, granola bar this week, muffin. Glenn was kind enough to make us a pie crust made of butter and whole wheat flour. It turned out beautifully. Couldn't have asked for a nicer pie crust. It was flaky and crunchy. This is Glenn's farmer's lunch, I call it. Sourdough bread and eggs. Barbecued chicken for the Friday night win. Homemade chips and onion rings. And a tortilla pizza. This is Tanner's that we put the fresh fermented salsa that I made for him. And now we move on to Sunday chicken dinner. Those are lovely potatoes and onions. And check out that antique cooker. I am just slicing the onions and the potatoes into just round slices. I generously cut the potato wedges to be a little bit thicker, and you'll see why. So in the bottom of the pot, I am layering the onions first, followed by the potatoes. A nice generous portion of potatoes, and they are going to be a glorious bed for our chicken to sit on. Our chicken was one that we raised, and it's approximately 6.5 pounds. For the seasonings for the chicken, I take some dehydrated garlic that I sliced and dehydrated over the summer, some rosemary that I dehydrated from the garden, some sage leaves, because you know, ain't chicken or turkey without a couple of sage leaves in there. And lastly, oregano. Those are the herbs that I am using, and aromatics. Okay, I'm going to grind that up. Now don't forget to add some salt to your mix. I like the coarse salt because it stands up well in the grinder. As you can see, it's not super fine, but it's also not chunky anymore. And I choose not to leave it in my mortar pestle because I don't want it to be contaminated by the chicken. Oh look, I saved the onion pieces. Good idea. Okay, I am going to salt and pepper my potato. And then I'm going to give it a generous little sprinkle of the herbs mixture that I just ground up. And here is Big Bird, nicely seasoned and ready to go into the oven. Take care there.
Can you hear Glenn? It's inside the chicken coop being a bit of a turkey. You're so funny. You know, he could go on for days. I'm gonna open the door and let these guys out.